It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
Probably half of our clients at the moment are interstate investors that are looking to Melbourne because they're priced now out of Perth, Adelaide and Brisbane. And Sydney's always been difficult to get into, as you would know. At the end of the day, Melbourne is now, I suppose, the new destination.
And that is Matt Scafidi on the Real Estate Breakfast, and we'll get back to that conversation in just a moment, talking about your property news and information, of course, right around Australia in the likes of Brisbane, Adelaide, Canberra, Perth, Melbourne, even Hobart. And good morning if you are listening to us from Hobart. You can stream us on multiple platforms, including iHeartRadio, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Take your pick. Right, it is a Wednesday, the middle of our working week, November the 4th. Want to get back into the Melbourne property market this morning, which has officially cemented its status as a $1 million city, recording a median house price of just over $1 million for the second consecutive month. You know, after enduring one of the longest buyers' markets in history, the city's housing market has rebounded from the 2022 downturn, a recovery more than 1,000 days in the making, according to PropTrack, who also say that renewed confidence and a surge in demand have driven prices up 7.2%, marking Melbourne's strongest growth phase in years. So let's go to Melbourne right now and catch up with Matt Scafidi from Abode Advocacy Group. And a very good morning to you, Matt. Welcome into the Real Estate Breakfast. It sounds like Scafidi might be Italian.
Yeah, you got that right, Craig. Yes. Probably watered down a fraction. I need to get over there at one stage and see where my relatives came from and some history and what have you, but I haven't had a chance to do that as yet.
The Colosseum in Rome, when you're standing in that Colosseum, it's a strange feeling. You know, you're looking down into the business end of where they would fight until the death. Everybody that has been to the Colosseum, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll definitely feel something. I want to talk about, since you are Italian, just to remind everybody that you can buy these Italian €1 houses. We did a piece on this about 2.5 years ago. There was a guy, I forget his name, he used to work with Jamie Oliver, and he did this. He's a little bit of a chef himself, runs a kitchen in one of these small little villages, bought the €1 house, and is still happily living there. You were telling me, Matt, you hadn't heard about this before.
No, I hadn't. It sounds like a good idea to get these small villages back up and running after all the young ones want to head to the big smoke.
Exactly right. That's the core reason why they decided to do it. Now, Melbourne Cup yesterday, I certainly hope that you were able to back a winner there in Melbourne.
No winners yesterday, Craig. The racing carnival's not my forte. I back a little bit on the AFL. I'm not going to be one of those once-a-year punters that just lose money.
Right, let's have a look at Melbourne. As I mentioned, it has officially emerged from one of the most extended buyers' markets in history after nearly 2 years of flat conditions following the 2022 downturn. Yes, the city has now recorded back-to-back months. You'd be pretty happy about that, wouldn't you?
Well, on the buyer's side, you know, it's made it a little bit tougher. Now, it is good to see the markets bouncing back. Sydney has always been expensive, but we've seen Brisbane, Perth and Adelaide all boom, and it's good to see Melbourne back on track after, as you said, a very extended period, which hasn't been in its history. I don't think it's gone backwards 2 years in a row ever in history. So it's been a very interesting time here in Melbourne.
And the extended stagnation, we should talk about that because that was made worse by the higher land taxes on secondary properties. That policy saw many investors rush to sell lower grade homes, creating this oversupply and holding prices down far longer than usual. That is probably something that you were stuck right in the middle of.
Yeah, absolutely, Craig. It was an interesting time. It was you had to sort of sift through. We had really low stock levels, but the stock levels were being bolstered by these what we would call B and C grade properties that were coming onto the market because investors could no longer afford to pay the land tax that they needed to do on those. 80% of investors in Melbourne are mums and dads. It just got too difficult. So a lot of these properties weren't maintained very well during their tenancy. And when they came to market, they didn't have money spent on it either. So we had to sort of work through that and work out which ones were the good ones, which ones weren't. And so our buying clients really relied on us in that time to not only know that they were getting a good priced property, but getting one that wasn't going to be a lemon later down the track.
Yeah, that oversupply and holding prices down longer than usual, really interesting when you have a contrasting look at past cycles like the 2018 or even the GFC, where those recoveries were much quicker. But the good news is the recovery is definitely back. I want to talk about the Northwest Corridor. We've been talking about that on the Real Estate Breakfast in the last couple of months. That has helped Victoria's recovery without a doubt. And I'll get you to explain some of the regions in particular that are standouts for you.
We've seen a lot of growth out past Tullamarine, Sunbury, Macedon, and then sort of into Mildura as well. So what we are seeing is that people are seeing regional Melbourne as a location to invest at the moment. We don't do a lot of purchasing in those areas, but we speak to a lot of buyer advocates that do. We're certainly seeing a lot of people sort of jumping on board that because the big build here in Victoria, although it's over time and over budget, it will certainly improve transportation to these areas as well. So people are sort of getting ahead of the curve there as well. So we're seeing a lot of growth regionally, but we're also seeing a lot of growth locally as well.
You mentioned Mildura. PropTrack did mention the median price jump of 8.2% to $396,000 over the past year, and that is showing that regional areas are helping drive the state's renewed housing momentum with exactly what you're talking about. We are talking to Matt. He is on the ground in Melbourne. We've got more after this.
Each week, we bring you in-depth real estate discussions, including inspiring stories from homeowners, knowledgeable real estate professionals and economists. Whether you're a buyer, seller, or just a real estate enthusiast, we are your ultimate property podcast.
The RBA, probably not unexpectedly, have held the cash rate at 3.60%, basically based on the back of the recent inflationary data for the September quarter.
Yeah, I think, from everybody's commentary, especially the last 3 or 4 days, everybody was just saying, yes, the inflation remains above target and recent data does show stronger than expected consumer spending and housing activity. The RBA just wanted to see clearer evidence that price pressures are easing before making any move. So maintaining the current rate probably helps reinforce stability and signal continued caution in this monetary policy.
Yeah, well, the inflationary numbers are very concerning. That was the biggest annual change for over 12 months. Headline inflation is now at 3.2%. That's an increase of 1.3%. The biggest culprit is these electricity prices. They've risen 23.6% over the last 12 months. Yes, it is cautionary, but it makes sense given the inflation seems to be back in the mix.
Let's fuel your passion for property together. Join us, along with our industry experts, to help inspire and inform your next real estate decision.
And it is a Real Estate Wednesday, the middle of our working week. And Matt is with us there in Melbourne. Something we've also been talking about, Matt, quite a bit over the last couple of months is this underquoting. And I'll get you to weigh in here from a buyer's agent's point of view, just how frustrating this is for you and the buyers you represent.
Yeah, certainly the buyers that we're representing hugely frustrated because when you've got a rising market, the agents are very slow to update their price ranges, etc. When you've got a falling market like we have had when we did have in Melbourne in 2022, they were very quick to update pricing, very quick to be talking to owners and reducing prices. But what we're seeing is buyers are coming to us after missing 2 or 3 or 4 auctions that they thought they had a chance to buy. Realistic terms, when we go through it and we explain to them, listen, if you had been with us at this time, we would have told you that this property was going to sell for 1.3 when it was quoted, 9 to $1 million, then you would have saved yourself a lot of time and grief, potentially money as well, because people are spending money on building and pest inspections, contract reviews. They're never in with a shot and see it sell for $200,000-$300,000 over. So that's where we do come in to, I suppose, straighten them up a little bit and guide them to more properties that they actually can afford.
What about some of those conversations? You can be saying to a buyer, look, they're saying that that's where the guide is at. This is underquoting. This is where the real price is. You must have, the frustration of the buyers looking at you saying, really, is it going to go for that much?
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Craig. But it really only takes one example from us. It might be a property A they bring to us and we say, listen, we'll track this, but we believe it's going to sell for 1.6. It's been quoted 1.1 to 1.2. And when it does sell for 1.6, all of a sudden the buyer's frustration leaves and their trust in us and what we're doing grows immensely. So from then on, we can sort of get on with the process of buying in their price range and showing them things that they can actually afford.
Investors, Perth, such a darling for such a long period of time. Then you've also got Brisbane in the mix. The investors kind of have been leaving Melbourne alone for some period of time, but suddenly the worm has turned and there's more appetite.
Oh, absolutely. I think probably half of our clients at the moment are interstate investors that are looking to Melbourne because they're priced now out of Perth, Adelaide and Brisbane. And Sydney's always been difficult to get into, as you would know. At the end of the day, Melbourne is now, I suppose, the new destination for a lot of people. They've started to understand the land tax component and process. So that's something that we always explain to any investor when they come to Melbourne. If they're not aware of it, we make sure that they are. The market is still there for investors and we've still got some reasonable buying. I do believe, though, that by this time next year, I think we'll be looking back in the rearview mirror and saying, gee, 2025, early 2026 prices were pretty good.
Hey, have you got any buyers that are still trying to get into a property before Christmas? Be there opening up the Chrissy presents on Christmas morning?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple of purchases we've made over the last probably 2 weeks that will get people in before Christmas. It's always a timeline that people want to work to because they want to get into school zones and all those type things and get their kids all locked into schools or kinders, etc. That is definitely still happening for principal place of residence, but also for investors. They would like to secure the property and have a plan to get tenants in the early part of the new year. So, yeah, we are still going to be busy and believe that we'll still be purchasing property right up until Christmas. And then probably early in January, we'll be back doing the same thing as well. So it's going to be a busy time for sure.
A busy time, a busy boy leading into the Christmas and then the New Year period for 2026. Hey, great to chat with you, Matt. Keep us posted when you finally get to Italy and you're standing in that Colosseum, sort of taking it all in.
Will do. Thank you very much, Craig. I really appreciate being asked to come on and appreciate your time.
Remember, we are not a real estate company. We are 100% all about increasing your awareness and knowledge for buying and selling properties. We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.